I'm Stacy Martin with the Martin Dream to Home team, and tonight I have Paula White with CMG. Hi, Paula.
Hello, it's great to see you.
You too. We're going to talk about how to build some wealth and real estate and what we need to do when it comes to loans and buyers and all that kind of stuff. So, we're going to get started. One of the questions I'm hearing a lot is what are the secrets to a lower rate and what does that mean? And are there secrets? What can we do? We hear these rates and people are a little bit gun shy still. So what can we do and what are the secrets to getting a lower rate?
Okay, so mortgage interest rates have a lot to do with credit scores. Okay, so that's where I would start to answer your question, even though it's more to it than that, right? But the number one topic that we always talk about with clients in terms of the impact of an interest rate or what has the biggest impact on an interest rate is always a credit score. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you a resource that I go to that's actually really easy. It's just a public website, and it's called myfico.com. And this will give us a little bit of a graphic to look at as I'm trying to explain. And this is actually an amazing resource. This website, again, it's myfico, FICO, and you can see all the different questions and answers that consumers have the ability to access. I'm more than happy to answer these questions at any time, especially how it relates to the mortgage industry and getting that better rate. But credit scores are the number one influencer when it comes to what type of an interest rate you're going to get. So obviously, the higher the credit score, the better the interest rate will be. And a lot of consumers don't know how that works, right? They don't know how their credit score works. And one of the cool things about or interesting things about how credit scores work is that the credit bureau has no idea how much money someone makes. Okay, so how much debt or what the monthly payments are inside the credit report really doesn't have any influence at all on the score. And so then a lot of people don't, they're scratching their head, well, how does that work? So the graphic in front of you, and don't get me wrong, this is an entire article that we don't have time to get into today, but if anyone wants to look at it, I can put the link in the chat and share that. But 35% of your credit score is your payment history. So if we've had some unfortunate late payments, that's not the end of the world. We just need to put some distance between, the time of application and those late payments. Or if they were put in the credit report as an error by the creditor, we can talk about how to get that off, right? 30% is how much you owe. And the biggest part of that is credit cards. So what we call revolving debt, which is any type of an account that you can pay down and reuse at your leisure, right? Whether it's a home equity line of credit that might be attached to a current house or a credit card, you want to make sure that you don't owe unless it's completely unavoidable. Sometimes we have emergencies in our life and we have to rely on those credit cards to get us through a tough time. That's okay. But at the time you want to apply for a mortgage, you want to make sure that your balances, if you can, are 30% of the high credit or less. Okay. 10% would be new credit. So if you've gone out recently and you've bought a new car or if you've applied for student loan debt, anytime a creditor of any type, regardless of what type of credit you apply for, anytime they do a hard hit inquiry to your credit report, that's going to affect your credit score. So we want to make sure that you limit who you're applying with and only do it when it's absolutely necessary. For example, I went to Kohl's the other day with my daughter to pick up something, and the cashier's like, "Oh, well, you can save 10%, 15%, 20%, whatever it was, if you open a new account today." If people get in the habit of doing that because it reduces the cost of what they're purchasing, that also creates inquiries on their credit report, which will lower their credit score. So we really want to try to avoid that if we can. And then the length of credit that the amount of time that someone's been in the credit bureau, the amount of time that someone's been actively making payments. And then the credit mix, which means, do you have 5 accounts in your credit bureau and they're all credit cards and you don't have an auto loan, you don't have a student loan, you don't have any sort of installment debt? So these are the factors that are the most important when it comes to affecting your credit score. And perhaps just knowing this information so that we can manage it as an individual will really help when it comes time to apply for a mortgage and your mortgage interest rate should be much less if your scores are much higher. The other thing that impacts your interest rate quite a bit is the amount of down payments you have. And a lot of people think that the more you put down, the lower the rate is. And that's true to a certain extent, but we have a tremendous amount of loan programs that don't heavily rely on the down payment in order to give that person the better rate. So things like credit scores, things like down payment, those are all part of what we refer to in our industry as an LLPA, or a loan level price adjustment. And we have mortgage loan programs, especially first-time home buyers or people that meet certain income limits, whether it be qualifying income or household income. And if they qualify for one of those loan programs, they're completely exempt from an LLPA. So that means that somebody perhaps with a 660 credit score, putting down 3% or 5%, might even get the same interest rate as somebody with a 780 score, which is the best you can possibly achieve in our industry. If someone qualifies for government loans, such as FHA, VA, USDA, those are not LLPA based, at least not as heavily as the conventional market are. So we might be able to say, okay, well, if your scores are this, we can get you approved, but maybe switching over to an FHA loan or maybe switching over to a USDA loan would give you a much better interest rate. And looking at that possibly might be able to save someone quite a bit of money.
The bottom line is get a great loan officer like Paula, and she'll walk you through all the programs and make sure you're really well educated. So, Paula, do you
Yeah.
want to share your information so people know how to find you?
Absolutely. So I am a senior VP and a senior loan officer for CMG Home Loans. My cell phone is always the best way to reach me, 703-328-6492. You can text me there as well. Um, and basically, we can always email and things like that, but I find nowadays most people like to text more than they like to email, and they're a lot more responsive, and they tend to just prefer that method of communication. So again, one more time, my cell phone, which is for calling or texting, 703-328-6492.
All right, awesome. Well, thanks everyone who joined us tonight. We look forward to having more discussions with you in the future, Paula. So thanks for joining us, and everybody have a great night.